talk about Dear Mothman by Robin Gao. This is a middle grade book that talks about grief mostly, but also about acceptance and friendship and just a whole host of other things that just made this book really, really beautiful. So this book is written in verse by Gao, and it is about a trans boy who is dealing with the loss of his best friend Lewis, who was also the only other trans boy in his school. At the time of Lewis's passing, our main character Noah does not really have the language to discuss who he is, how he is feeling. Lewis was really his only friend that he felt he could discuss and be true to. Even though he has supportive parents, he doesn't feel comfortable coming out yet. He doesn't have the language to discuss what coming out is. Eventually, at some point, he discovers trans YouTubers, and that is like a tool that he's able to use to kind of discuss how he is, how he feels. But early on in the book, Noah is unsure about who the correct people to talk to about this are, how he wants to talk about it, who he wants to tell. And so the loss of Lewis is just this absolutely immense grief that he is experiencing. And in that grief, Noah turns to writing letters to Mothman, who was Lewis's absolute favorite cryptid. And in these letters, Noah finds himself on this journey of acceptance, making new friends, and it's really just a beautiful, beautiful story of friendship and acceptance, but also grief. I have kind of found myself, I think this is the 5th book I've read this year, and then I read, I think, like 13 in December, and of them, a lot of them have dealt with grief, and none of them were as beautiful as this one, because none of them are from the perspective of a child. And it is so hard to grieve as an adult, but I cannot imagine how much more difficult it is as an 11-year-old who doesn't have the words to express how they're feeling to anyone besides Mothman. And what is just absolutely beautiful about this story is Noah and Lewis were so close that nobody else outside of the two of them in their own friendship knew the other was trans. They really only shared that with each other. They hadn't come out to anyone else yet. And one thing that Noah is really struggling with is the fact that he is not only grieving Lewis, but he's not able to use Lewis's real name in front of other people, and it feels like a secondary loss, that he's not able to really talk about the true Lewis with anyone. And in the growth of these friendships that he begins to make by writing to Mothman, he is able to not only accept himself, but also bring some acceptance into the world for who Lewis was before he passed, and make sure that people are remembering him the way that he would have wanted to be remembered. And it's just absolutely, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous story. If you are a teacher or you have young children, I really highly recommend this. I think that it's a beautiful story of acceptance. There is trigger warning for some bullying. It does happen in here, but it reaches a point in the book where there is a lot of love and acceptance eventually. It just takes some time. And so I really, really just highly suggest this book. Like I said, especially if you have young readers. If you're an adult, I would still suggest reading this one, because I think sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, grief is hard regardless of who you are. But as a child, it's even harder, and kind of seeing Robin Gao show that in this book was just really, really beautiful, and I really, really appreciated it. But I also am just going to show you the book without the dust jacket, because it's super cute. And I just think they did a really good job with the presentation of this book beyond anything that's in it. I'm just going to show you. So he's writing letters to Mothman and leaving them outside, and so his journal is supposed to be getting wet on the edges, and so they designed the book itself to kind of look like that and evoke that. And so they just did this super intentionally, and I really, really, really enjoyed it, and I cannot suggest it highly enough. It's also an extremely quick read. It's 300 something pages, but every page is in verse, and so it's not a lot. There are some illustrations from Noah to Mothman about what he imagines him looking like. I wonder if I can find my favorite one for you here really fast. Bear with me, I'm so sorry. It is Noah and Lewis feeding Mothman cupcakes. There it is. Okay. Thank you if you've held on this long. It's so cute. And so this book, like I said, just very intentional, and I think that Robin Gao does an amazing job talking about grief, but also acceptance and being trans, because this author is also trans. And so I just really, really enjoyed this story, and I cannot suggest it highly enough. And especially if you have children, I would really suggest you pick this one up so that they have the option to pick it up as well.